Hello everyone, and you are watching an exclusive interview on Lead website. I have the amazing Faryal Gohar with me. She is an activist, she's an actress, she's a journalist, she's done a lot of things in the field of communications, and she is a champion for women causes, and she's a champion for women leaders as well. So we're going to ask her a few questions. Hello, how are you? Thank you for giving us time.
It's a pleasure for me to be here. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity.
All right, ma'am. So you've gone through our project brief about our world. It's about engaging women who are powerful, who have influence, and making sure that they add value to policy change. What is your opinion about the project? Do you think it will make a difference?
Yes, I certainly hope that it will, and it certainly should. It's a much needed project. As you know, I've been involved in the area of particularly reproductive health and reproductive rights, and I did serve with the United Nations as their Goodwill Ambassador for the United Nations Population Fund. In my training as a global leader, particularly for strategic reproductive health issues, I have learned that there is power in one. So even if you have one person who can make a difference, that difference is palpable, and it sets off a whole chain of events which can actually lead to a critical mass. So certainly the value on leaders, and not just the one leader, is all the more potent when you spread it out amongst many people.
Now, this project, it's specifically relating to reproductive health and reproductive health rights of women. What is your opinion about the reproductive health status of women in Pakistan? Do you think our country is making a progress? And if not, what are the future challenges and hurdles?
It's very difficult for me to make a categorical statement in terms of whether the country is making a progress or not. What I can very clearly say, where there is definition in terms of the statistics available to us, is that in terms of the contraception prevalence rate, which is the CPR in short, it has actually fallen from 32% to less, and it is now in its 20s, which means that fewer women now, or fewer families, men and women, are using contraceptives in order to plan their families, which is obviously a step backwards. The total fertility rate, which is the TFR, was 4.1 at a certain point. That, because it is a mean, it is a figure that is arrived at by dividing the data by the incidence. The fact is that still in Pakistan you have areas where the notion of birth spacing, or even in terms of limiting your fertility, the notion itself doesn't exist or is not acceptable. So you still have women who are giving birth multiple times, sometimes as many as 16 to 20, 21 children are delivered, whether they are delivered alive, whether they survive, whether the mother survives after many multiple births, is the question to be asked. In Pakistan currently, the IMR, the infant mortality rate, as well as the MMR, the maternal mortality rates, are amongst the highest in the world. And we need to address that, because while we consider ourselves to be amongst the foremost nations, particularly in the Islamic world, who have nuclear assets, we are very, very far behind in terms of particularly women's and children's health. So it is something that we need to take cognizance of, because the situation, in my mind, because poverty is increasing and the development expenditure has been slashed, therefore the money that could have gone into providing services, even in terms of providing information towards options for women and men planning their families, has actually been slashed to a point where now ignorance is more the order of the day than knowledge.
You've identified a few points. You talked about poverty, you talked about men and women both playing a role. What is your message to the young women leaders out there who are, who just started and blossoming in their life and they are exploring new avenues? What would be your message to them? How can they make a difference in society regarding reproductive health?
But I think it's absolutely imperative that we recognize the role of men, whether we are young women leaders or whether we are women at home who are grandmothers. The fact of the matter is that the ability to make decisions is very limited amongst women in the reproductive, the childbearing age. Therefore, young women leaders who are now wanting to take on the issue of reproductive health and rights need to keep in mind that this is a discussion and a discourse which has to involve male partners. In many cases, in the research that has been done, some of which I have conducted in the area of abortion and why abortion is used as a tool for family planning, instead of other non-invasive and safer options, the fact of the matter is that women are not given permission to use the other options. So as a last resort, in many cases, which is surreptitiously done, not in the knowledge of the husband or the mother-in-law, women actually put their lives at stake. The loss of women to abortion-related deaths is staggering. It's phenomenal. It's in the hundreds of thousands around the world. In Pakistan, it's extremely high. Because abortion is considered to be illegal except in certain circumstances, we don't even have the statistics, particularly from the private sector facilities. So public sector hospitals which report mortality and morbidity related to abortions, if we were to recognize that, then we would realize that the whole process of decision-making regarding fertility has to be taken very seriously in terms of how men and women can partner towards adding to reproductive rights and to the health of particularly the mother in the family.
Now, you've identified some key points of the grassroots level, the grassroots problems. Now it's come to the policymakers. How do you think we can engage policymakers in this dialogue about reproductive health and make them realize that how important it is, and it should be a part of a constitution, it should be a part of a legal framework?
Well, I think the obvious is dialogue itself. I don't know whether that has been done or done often enough. One of the reasons why I felt that the UN was not making strides in this area was because there was not much dialogue between particularly the international NGOs or the private sector and the public sector. I think population has never been given enough due importance, although that is, I think, the most pressing issue. Everything is related to the number of people, and the quality of life of people is related to the number of people that you are dealing with. So, when you have ministers coming into women's development or population issues, and if it happens to be a male minister, the first thing you'll hear them saying is, oh, this is totally useless. They're either thinking in terms of useless in terms of the money they could make, or that, it really has no significance politically. So if that's the way that government treats one of, I think, the most primary needs of this country, then at the same time the private sector hasn't paid attention except for social marketing, where literally they're marketing products which lead to perhaps better child spacing, a better quality of health for the mother in particular. But those are very small initiatives. Nevertheless, they are significant. But in terms of dialogue between technically trained people, or people who have the vision and the understanding, who have done the research or at least studied the research, and government, it's not enough. There needs to be a championing of the cause in Parliament. And I have been asked to be a part of these initiatives for so many years, but the initiatives have never taken place. So, we've got to put our money where our mouths are. And, the talk is just the talk. We've now got to walk the walk.
Excellent. Thank you so much for your views. And you are now part of our project, so hopefully you're going to teach us how to walk the talk and walk properly as well. All right. Thank you so much.